All right, men, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages, the top 3 marriage communication mistakes and how to fix them. Now, these aren't the mistakes that everybody makes, but these are the mistakes that I see high achieving Christian men make often. So we're going to talk about them and how to fix them today. So my name is Mike Frazier, MD. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach, and I help high achieving Christian men have more intimate marriages. So some wins from guys this week in the program. Guys are finding confidence after their wife's infidelity. Look, if your wife was unfaithful, it is very hurtful. It's very damaging, can really wreak havoc on your self-esteem, on your thoughts, on your paranoia. Like a lot goes on. And this is definitely a group of men we help support really well in the program. We can help you find that confidence again and get back to a good spot and make some good decisions around, do I continue this marriage? Do I not? What needs to be there for it to continue if that happened? Guys are starting and enjoying date nights again. So, a lot of times when things are off in a marriage, you don't have those date nights or they're really bad when you go. So guys are starting them again. They're enjoying again. They're having fun again. Guys are sending fun text messages to their wives through the day and getting those back, enjoying that fun, flirty communication. Guys are spending time playing games with their kids and just kind of spending time overall. So improving those relationships with the children. When you learn these relationship skills, they translate to all your relationships, which is great. One gentleman shared the home atmosphere is more peaceful, and his wife's commenting that he's less explosive than he has been. He's growing in his mental and emotional strength and super powerful. For me, I've been just focusing on admiring my wife more, seeing all the good things she does. And it's making a big difference, for just admiring her, loving her more. What I really want to feel towards her and my kids is love. So asking God to help me feel that and see those good things has been really, really powerful. The other thing I've been really asking for is this change of heart to feel more of the fruits of the Spirit, especially towards my son. And man, I've been feeling that a lot. And just, as much as we talk about these tools and things, and they are really valuable and useful, a lot of times we need that just spiritual change, that change of heart that God can grant us as a gift. And, as I've been praying more for that, it's been really, really powerful. So on to the mistakes. So mistake one that I see high achieving Christian guys make is just not listening, period. Okay. As far as communication mistakes go. So your wife starts to talk to you and you're distracted, right? You're on your phone, you're playing a game, you're talking to someone, or you're texting somebody. She's talking to you, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I know I do that. Maybe you're just preoccupied. You got other worries, other thoughts going on. You're thinking about work, you're thinking about money, thinking about what's for dinner, whatever, right? That's going on in your mind. So she's talking and you're like, yeah, whatever, but you're not really paying that much attention. Or maybe the kids are just distracting you, right? They're pulling on you, dad, while you're trying to talk to her, or maybe the TV's on and you're watching a game or, a show that you like, and, she's talking, but you are kind of responding, but not really registering what she's saying. I've had it happen where I've been doing a lot of these things and my wife's like, remember I told you that? I'm like, no, I don't remember. But it was because of this. I was just like, was making the motions like I was listening, and maybe I sort of halfway was, but I wasn't really focused, right? I wasn't really paying attention to what she was saying. So what to do instead for this one? Pretty simple, right? Put the phone down, put the computer away, turn the TV off, right? And even just doing that is going to be a really great signal to your wife that she's important to you, she matters to you, okay? And then just make eye contact with her. Okay, so phone down, distractions away, eye contact. Just that is just such a great move to show her she's important, and also just focuses your attention really well. The other thing that can help is jotting down notes. So if, for example, she's asking you to do a few things, just say, okay, yeah, hold on for a second. Let me just jot that down, make sure I remember it. Or you put it right in your calendar. Okay, yeah, tomorrow I need to do that. Let me put it in my calendar. Again, all of this shows her, hey, like she's important to you. You're treating this just like you treat anything else that's important to you. If you're at work or you're with the client or whatever, you're doing these things. You're not on your phone. You're making eye contact. If they ask you to do something, you're jotting it down to make sure. So treat your wife with that same respect. Distractions away, eye contact, write down things that are important. Okay. So mistake 2 that high achieving guys make often is thinking that you know better than her. Okay. So let's just pretend your wife starts to tell you her idea about finances. Well, hey, I think we should do this. We should save all our money. We shouldn't invest any of it, right? So a lot of times we'll kind of like finish her sentence for her if we kind of think she knows where she's going. We think we know where she's going. You're like, oh yeah. She's like, well, maybe we should put our money in. And then you're like, oh yeah, in the stock market, or oh yeah, in real estate. And you just kind of like finish for her. In other words, you're not really listening. You're trying to anticipate. You're not trying to really understand her, finishing their sentence for her. Or you just immediately tell her why that's not going to work. Well, to keep our money in a savings account doesn't make sense. We can get a much better return somewhere else. We should be doing that instead. So, or you kind of smile politely, like, "Oh yeah, great idea, honey. Yeah, let's put our money under the mattress." But inside, you're thinking, "Man, that's really dumb. Like, that's so stupid." Which is, maybe it seems like a good thing to do, but the problem is, again, this like internal feeling of superiority. So it's kind of like, "Oh yeah, honey, that's great." It's patronizing. It's looking down on her. Um, if that's going on inside of you, that's not attractive, right? If you really think you're better, better than your wife, she's kind of dumb, you're smart. Um, it doesn't work long term. It doesn't create attraction. It doesn't create intimacy. You're not really sharing what's going on with you. She eventually will stop really sharing what's going on with her if you're always acting like you know better, you're smarter than her. And look, as a high achieving guy, you probably are really smart. You probably are really intelligent. And it's so important that you value what your wife says. If you don't and you think you're better, it's just going to drive intimacy into the garbage, right? She's not going to trust you because you're treating her in a not great way. Mental, emotional intimacy won't be there because she's going to stop sharing with you if you're always thinking you're better than her. So the common areas where I see this come up: money, right? We're using that example. Sex, right? Thinking you know better than her, like, or you're more sexually adventurous or whatever. In-laws, that your in-laws are, the way you spend time with in-laws is the way you do it is better than the way she does it. With parenting, the way I do it's better than you, or I do more than you. With religion, the way I worship is better than the way you worship. With housework, I do more than you, or the way we organize this, I should set that up because I'm smarter. Free time, the way I spend my free time is better than the way you spend your free time. So again, like, if some of these resonate with you, and I know even just like listing these off, I'm like, man, I'm doing some of these still right now. It's not attractive, right? It just isn't. So what do you need to do instead? Instead of thinking like, why would she suggest that? Like, what's wrong with her? She's stupid, right? That internal dialogue. Instead, you want to think to yourself, hey, like, my wife's a smart woman. Like, why would she think this way? Let me just understand her. She's got to have good reasons for this. And just get into that understanding mindset of her. Okay. Just value her opinion, understand it, like, get where she's coming from. And look, sometimes we don't act totally rationally. And a lot of times that's based on past experiences. So if she's like, no, we need to hide our money under the mattress, you might be like, man, that's dumb, because we could at least put in a savings account, and that could grow at 4%, or whatever. Um, Instead of going there, just try to understand where she's coming from. Because maybe, when you're like, well, hey, help me understand, like, why under the mattress? What do you think the benefits are? What do you think the risks are? What's the concern there? Is there something from your past that kind of makes you think that would be a good idea? She may be like, well, yeah, my dad always said that you had to keep it under the mattress or someone's going to steal it, or something, right? Something that comes from her past. Now, when you understand that and it comes to light, now you can kind of really work on it and say, well, do you think that's actually true? Do you think that's actually helpful? It's probably like, not really, but it still does scare me. And then and then now you're having a real discussion, right? With mental and emotional intimacy. Okay, yeah, like, I could see that. Do you really think that's the best idea? Or maybe we could put it in a bank, or maybe we keep some cash out and some in the bank, right? That's where you get to understanding. Okay. So the other thing about understanding, you don't have to agree, but you do need to value and understand her if you want intimacy in your marriage, if you want mental and emotional intimacy. If you don't really care, yeah, go ahead, shoot everything down, tell her she's dumb, directly or indirectly. But just understand there's a cost to that, which is trust is going to drop, mental and emotional intimacy is going to drop. If, on the other hand, you decide to value her opinion, not necessarily agree, but understand it, value it, then you create more mental and emotional intimacy, and that leads to a great connection between the two of you. Okay. Also, guys, just remember, like, we want physical intimacy as part of our marriage. We all do. Um, But the way you get there is by building trust and mental and emotional intimacy. That's when she feels comfortable sharing her body with you, is when she can feel comfortable sharing her mind with you and her thoughts with you and her beliefs with you. And she can trust you to be a safe person and follow through on your commitments. Okay. That's when she feels more comfortable opening her body up to you. So, mistake 3 I see guys make is getting defensive. So, when your wife brings up something you did wrong or seems to imply you did something wrong, it can be easy for high achieving guys to get defensive. So, recently my wife had, asked me about feeding the chickens and had I done that? Which days had I done that? And so I kind of did this, right? I got defensive. I was like, well, I did look out there and the way I did it was fine. And you probably should have done it, or maybe the kids should have done it. Kind of made a lot of mistakes as far as getting defensive. Um, we feel like we want to justify ourselves, we want to justify our position. And I think really underneath this for most of us is we don't want to look incompetent because we are high achieving guys. We do well outside the home. We want to seem like we're competent inside the home. So even when we do make mistakes, we can try to kind of cover it up or hide it or act like it's not that big a deal because we don't want to feel incompetent. So yeah, a lot of times we jump to justifying, we jump to pointing out her flaws, we give all the reasons why we didn't follow through on something we said we'd do. Okay. So yeah, I could be like, well, yeah, I didn't do the chickens, but you didn't do this. You didn't wipe the counters, or you didn't, make dinner when you said you would, or whatever. And again, what does that lead to? Does that lead to more intimacy? No, it makes you both want to shut down and not trust each other and not feel safe with each other. Okay. So yeah, it's hard for high achieving Christian men to be wrong. I don't like being wrong. If someone points out that I'm doing something wrong, I have a hard time, especially my wife, because I feel like she's supposed to be supporting me, right? But it's not what creates intimacy to get defensive. So what to do instead is look for the truth in what she's saying. So like with the chickens, I could just look at the truth and be like, okay, yeah, I did say I'd feed them and I didn't. That's true, right? And so just apologize for that and say, hey, sorry, yeah, I did forget that. Also, if she's really upset, sometimes she'll use words like always or never, like, well, you never listen to me, or you never do the chickens when you say you will. In your own mind, you can kind of translate that a little bit and be like, okay, yeah, she's upset right now. She's saying never. She doesn't really mean never. Um, she means sometimes I don't, right? And you can agree with that. Just say, hey, you're right. Sometimes I do forget, and that's got to be frustrating, right? You can't trust me to follow through on that. That's hard. So take responsibility and correct things, right? That's what you want to do instead. Yeah, own up. I made mistakes, and yeah, I can change things. And look, if she does bring up issues you need to address with her, maybe do it then, but probably schedule it for later. So what I mean by that is if she's like, yeah, you didn't feed the chickens, and then in your mind you're like, well, yeah, you didn't make dinner when you said you would. Okay, it's like that is a fair thing to bring up with her. It's just probably not going to go very well in that moment when you're both just activated, your thinking brain's not really online, your emotional brain's up. you know if you feel yourself getting really heated, just take a break. Hey, I need to take a break right now. I do want to hear you. Let's talk about this later. Walk away, release your anger, punch something, go for a run, and then come back and talk. um, and then you could bring up, hey, well, yeah, like you're right, I didn't do the chickens, and I imagine that makes you not trust me. Also, hey, you said you do dinner and you didn't, and that felt bad to me. It felt like you didn't prioritize me, um, and I'd really appreciate it if you did follow through on that. Okay, that's mental and emotional intimacy. We do share what hurts us. We do share what we'd like, right? Another helpful thing here is if you're having these discussions and it can get pretty heated, I find that jotting things down helps me. So writing or typing on the computer, kind of the main complaints she has, helps me kind of separate myself from it so I don't get as emotionally activated. So she's like, well, you don't listen, or you are rude to the kids. Instead of, because I can get very defensive and like looking at her and trying to engage with her and getting mad. But if I'm jotting it down, I'm like, okay, yeah, she said this, she said that. Can I see some truth in that? Yeah, it just helps me create some separation and makes it a lot easier for me to get less defensive. So I recommend that if she is kind of coming at you in that heated way, to jot it down, like you put it on a screen or put it on your, like, write it down physically, whatever works for you. Okay, so in summary, high achieving Christian men can fall into some common communication traps. So, not listening, being distracted, thinking you know better, common one for high achieving guys, and getting defensive, which also comes from just not wanting to be wrong. Okay. So these are all things, they're kind of pride, right? As high achieving Christian guys, a lot of times we're pretty prideful. Um, and again, that comes from us sort of not feeling internally great, like connected with God. We kind of need other people to tell us we're great. That's the root of the mosquito cycle. So there's like deeper things to address with this. And that's what we talk about in our program and we get to. But some things you could do, right? Focus when she's talking to you, put your phone down, put the screen away, look at her eyes, right? See her as an equal, value her, understand her. You don't have to agree, but you do want to value what she's thinking. Um, and then instead of getting defensive, find truth in what she's saying, own up to your mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. It really is. So to do all this, it does require spiritual, mental, and emotional strength to be able to listen, to be able to understand, to be able to get into somebody's shoes, to be able to be honest and trustworthy and manage your self-worth so it's not as impacted by negative things she says. Okay. It takes communication intimacy skills. How do I listen well? How do I express myself? How do we, get to that intimacy? How do we bring fun, flirting, and passion back? All right. So we learn these at an expert level in record time in strong men, strong marriages. So you want to learn these skills, you want to learn them fast instead of going through years of therapy. Come to the program, you're going to be an expert in most of this stuff in 90 days. Okay. And look, it's something you continue to learn forever, but you're going to go from novice to like expert basically in 90 days on a lot of these skills. So come join us. Let's do it in Strong Men, Strong Marriages. Visit strongmen.io or visit the link in the show notes and let's get to work. All right. So stay strong, men. We'll see you next episode. Again, visit strongmen.io or visit the link in the show notes and come apply to join. Stay strong, men. See you next episode.